Welcome to the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast. My name is Demetrius. This podcast is for fans of the Detroit Lions, Detroit sports in general. We are back for season 7. We start every podcast the same way. We acknowledge the super producer extraordinaire, the godfather of the podcast, Mr. Mike Ward. This is the kickoff to, like I said, the 7th season of this podcast. Couple years, we had a different name than so this is the 5th year, I believe, officially as the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast. I think that 2 years ago, we thought it was going to be a good year. Last year, we really felt good. So I think that once we get to this year, you start thinking, okay, how do we want to do this? And a lot of people have asked me, what do you think? Where do you feel they are? I am an optimist in life. I'm an optimist by nature of who I am. And when it comes to this football team, you multiply that by 1,000. So I decided to call today's podcast, The Detroit Lions Are Destined, because I believe it. I have a couple of things to talk about tonight that will get me to a place where you will understand why I believe what I believe. But I do think they're destined. I do think this is finally the year. And there are a lot of people predicting that, and I guess that's easy to say, and you can circle back later and check me on it. But they're reporting in a few days. It's time to kick off season 7. We're excited. Last year did not end the way we wanted. So tonight, what we're going to do, we're going to touch a little bit on key losses and additions. There's been some changes, not a lot, but enough that we can touch base on them. There's no way to avoid a conversation about health, about being healthy, because that was a key part of last year. We're going to talk about what they could be, like just conceptually, what do they look like? What do we think they are? Then I'm going to just give my own thoughts on what I think they really will be, what I think they actually are. Shout out to my brother already coming in. That's my man. Love you, bro. He is already saying 13-4 Super Bowl, and I will take all those. Anybody who wants to chime in, then I'm going to take a couple questions. I happen to agree with my brother, which is weird. I think that most of the time we're aligned. I'm on the exact same page. I'll talk about it a little later, but I'm on the exact same page. 13-4, and in Santa Clara, California, in February. So that's the idea. But like I said, we're going to hit the key losses and additions. We're going to talk about what they can be. And then I'm going to talk about what I think they are. And then I'm going to take a couple questions. So we're going to jump right in. So key losses. There's a lot here, or it feels like there's a lot here. I'm going to start with the coordinators, right? Because a lot of people who come up to me who know about the podcast, who feel like they want to tap my brain for what I think the Lions are about, where I think the Lions are. They start off with, oh, you lost both your coordinators. Oh, so I'm going to start off right from the top. If you're one of those Ben Johnson is a genius guys, you can stop listening to the podcast for about 10 minutes, because I'm not that guy, right? I have nothing against Ben Johnson. I just think there's a lot of variables, right? I think it's simple, though, in terms of how do the loss of the coordinators actually impact the 2025 Lions? I don't think it's going to be as much as most, because they have a culture. They've defined a culture of who they are. Like Brad Holmes does it with players. He talks about fit. You hear he's got to be the right fit. You got to be the right fit. And I did a whole segment on one of the podcasts about what I believe Brad Holmes means when he talks about fit. Some of it is scheme fit, whether you play man or zone, 3-4, 4-3, scheme fit. Some of it is financial fit. Can we afford this guy? Do we have the money? Some of it is cultural fit. They like a certain type of player. I think Dan Campbell takes the same approach when it comes to assistant coaches. And I think that if you look at the culture of who they are, they have a history of finding the right people. They let go of a defensive backs coach because of something. We never knew, but something happened. They let him go out of nowhere. But if you think about this, 4.5 years ago, Dan Campbell took the job. Shortly after, 2 weeks maybe, he walked up to the podium and he said, Aaron Glenn was my first choice. I know who Aaron Glenn is. I know he fits our culture. I know he fits what I want to do here. He picked Aaron Glenn. He was smart enough. He had enough foresight to see. He actually said it. one day AG is going to be a head coach in this league. So he knew it. So he's not a dummy. And in my world, in the world of business, it's called succession planning. If you know you've got someone that's going to elevate at some point, you think about this ahead of time and you get someone else ready. They've been grooming Kelvin Shepherd for 2 years. I feel like Kelvin Shepherd, in their mind, brings the right attitude. He brings the skill set, and he's been standing next to Aaron Glenn for, I'm going to say, all 4 years. I don't have any concerns about the defensive coordinator. I don't. I think the scheme doesn't change much. I don't think the culture changes much because the culture is set. Kelvin Shepherd just fits. He was already in the building. He's not bringing anything new. I think the thing with John Morton is he was there before the new offense coordinator, back when they first built this thing, left, and now he's coming back. There are people who think it was all Ben Johnson. Some of these are golf haters who don't want to give my quarterback any credit. It's all Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's a genius. Oh, my God. Look at the great play calling. Okay, at the end of the day, somebody's got to execute those plays. And that dude was called Jared Goff. So if Caleb Williams has an amazing season and the Bears win 13 games, I will change my entire tune about Ben Johnson. I contend Dan Campbell sets the culture. Dan Campbell enforces the culture. And Dan Campbell is telling us, the Lions fans, John Morton's the right guy. And if he gets it wrong, he'll fix it. Like he did at first. He hired a guy named Anthony Lynn, well-respected former Chargers coach. Halfway through the first season, something wasn't working. And Dan Campbell said, you know what? I'll call the plays. Demoted Anthony Lynn, then let him go at the end of the year. But the second half of their first year, Dan Campbell called the plays. And then he said, oh, wait, that tight ends coach is pretty smart. He fits. I think I'm going to let this tight ends coach be my new offensive coordinator. And that dude's name was Ben Johnson. So the same guy that 3.5 years ago picked the tight ends coach that none of us knew, and said he's a good fit. It's the same dude that said, I want John Morton to run my offense. So I trust Dan Campbell. If you wonder why I'm not at all concerned about the coordinators, I trust Dan Campbell. If either guy is not doing it right, he'll let him go and he'll find somebody who does. He has demonstrated the propensity to do that. Just not worried about the coordinators, guys. We got too much talent on the field. The players are too good. I don't think these coordinators need to come in and reinvent the wheel and try and do anything special or unique. You've got the players. Just do your job, right? Now, in terms of players, I'll start with Carlton Davis, who I thought quietly had a really good year. I like the way he played. I know he was missed in the Commanders game, especially after Meek broke his arm on like the second defensive play of the game. But again, everybody knows I have a man crush on Brad Holmes. He went out and he got DJ Reed. At worst, they're comparable. There are people who think DJ Reed's better. I might be one of them. I think we filled that spot. Now, my brother's on the podcast. I'm going to say something and he ain't going to be happy, but that's okay. I think that DJ Reed and a second year of Terrion Arnold, who I think is going to be better than his rookie year, I will pause for Kenny to tell me how bad he thinks Terrion Arnold is. No, I think the organic growth of Terrion Arnold and DJ Reed with Amik Robertson back, Ennis Rakestraw should be healthier. So I like the Reed signing in terms of talking about losses and ads. I think it's a minimum a wash. DJ Reed might actually be better. But I think that once you get beyond that, Zeitler, the guard. Zeitler was probably always a one-year signing. I think it's interesting, though, because they didn't go out and re-sign another veteran guard. And there it is. Kenny wants everybody to know Terrion Arnold's a bum. So there's that. I think them not going out and re-signing a veteran interior lineman, I think, hey, my other brother, Terrence, joined. What's up? So I think that not going out and signing another offensive lineman says a couple of things to me. I think, one, they may like their young guys. I think they think Christian Mahogany is ready. That's how I read it. The talk, not necessarily from the Lions, mostly from fans and media, is that Christian Mahogany is ready to step in and start at guard. Maybe. Maybe they really like both of their rookies. Tate Ratledge, the second round pick out of Georgia, and Miles Frazier, the fifth round pick out of LSU. I think that what they have definitely said, though, is that we like our young interior linemen. Are you going to have a drop off? Sure, because of the biggest loss, right? For me, the biggest loss, not the coordinators. I'm fine with the coordinators. Biggest loss is Frank Ragnow. I did a podcast middle of last season, and we talked about the most important players. And everybody knows how much I love 16 and Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra and Hutch. I said less than a year ago, look it up in the archives. The most important player on that team, and at the time they were probably 8-1, 9-1. I said the most important player on this team is Frank Ragnow. And that's not me saying I told you so, because a lot of people agree with me, right? This was the biggest loss for so many reasons. So if there's the slightest bit of concern, and I don't have a lot, mostly because I'm me and I love this team, but I also think that objectively, all cornbread and Kool-Aid aside, on paper, everybody healthy, I still think they're the most talented team in the NFC. And we'll find out. We'll find out. But I think this is the most impactful thing, more than the coordinators, more than any other player. But I contend they were aware and prepared. That's why you drafted Tate Ratledge in the second and then circle back and drafted Miles Frazier in the fifth. That's why you did that, because you know Graham Glasgow is 32, 33-ish, right? But right now, I look at the unit. If you don't just think about one guy, because you're not going to fill Frank with one guy. So if you take the approach of who is the one dude that is now Frank, can't do that. No, Frank's too good. Can't do that. So what you got to think about is the interior lineman as a unit, the three of those guys. What you really have is maybe Ratledge starts at center. All accounts, he's good enough to play center or guard. Maybe Miles Frazier can play guard. I still liked Owasika. I thought Owasika played well. So you have this flexibility now where Glasgow can play guard or center. Ratledge might be able to play guard or center. You could have Ratledge start at center. You could have Glasgow at one guard, and you could have Owasika. You could have Christian Mahogany. You can have Frazier. You can interchange these guys. So it's going to be a committee thing where just think about all three of those positions, the center and the two guards, as a single unit. You're not replacing Frank. We got to mix and match, or as they call it, position flexibility, right? You could, in theory, have a game where Ratledge starts at center and they move Frank over and kicks him out to guard. They're going to look at all of that, I'm sure. But I think they were smart and they looked at it the right way. I still like Owasika. I think that kid, Michael Neese, played well. I think Frank will be missed. But I think by the time you get out to week 11, week 12, week 13, these guys will have gelled. We'll know who's who and who plays where. Don't discount the skills and coaching ability of Hank Fraley, the Lions offensive line coach. But all in all, I'm less concerned about the coordinators and than most people, but I'm appropriately concerned about the interior of the offensive line, largely because Frank is missed. But, like I said, I'm an optimist. I like the culture. I like the leadership at the top of the football team and Dan Campbell. And I think there's a credibility that he has replaced those coordinators and he'll be fine. I think that he will certainly make sure the right people are in place on that offensive line. So let's talk additions. Touch base on DJ Reader a little bit. I think that's a 1-for-1, in my opinion, with Carlton Davis. And that's no shade on Carlton Davis. I just think it was money. DJ Reed, by most boards, was the best available corner on the free agent market for what that's worth. I don't see a huge drop-off. Health being a thing, I don't see a drop-off. And again, health's the thing. I think they added some depth under the radar. Avonte Maddox, Rock Ya-Sin. These are two guys that if something happened and they needed to come in and play a game or two, we still got to meet. Don't forget it. Kenny's boy is going to be better, whether he believes it or not. I think Terry Nano had a good year. Kenny judged him on his first 4 games. I judged him on the whole season. I think that Ennis Rakestraw battled injury most of the year. A healthy Ennis Rakestraw was highly rated coming out of the draft. And I think there was a reason for it. So I like where they are depth-wise In the secondary now, you still have Kirby, you still have Brian Branch. I think you did lose Melon Famu. I think he went to Miami, maybe. But I think bringing in an Avonte Maddox and a Rockison, these guys give you depth with a healthy Rick Straw because Amik Robertson played really good ball. So I think that they had a solid draft. I mean, I'm biased. I think Brad Holmes is great at his job, right? I think what he did shows that he was at least thinking that Frank was a possibility, right? So Williams will probably start day one at defensive tackle. If not, he will be right in the rotation. With Aleem McNeil probably not coming back to mid-year, maybe even Thanksgiving-ish. I think Williams is right there with DJ Reader right off the top. They brought in a guy named Roy Lopez. Don't sleep on Roy Lopez. He'll be in the mix. I think he'll be a special teamer as well, but he'll be in the mix. And then I think you have Makai Wingo, those guys holding it down until Aleem gets back. So I think that's the group you're looking at. Maybe they drop Josh Pascal down to play some tackle. I think Kaminsky might. Did we lose Kaminsky? I'll circle back on Kaminsky. I don't remember. But from a draft standpoint, I think Williams plays day one. Starts probably day one. I think we know Ratledge is in the mix. We know he's in the mix. If he's not starting, it means Christian Mahogany stepped up and maybe Oasika stepped up. That's the only way I don't see Ratledge starting is if Glasgow's your center and they kick Oasika and Mahogany to guard. But I think that Frazier is going to grow into a role. If he doesn't play, it's a good thing. It means that we were probably healthy and he just didn't need to get in. I look at Isaac Tesla and what I see is a dude that's 6'4", 215-ish, but I think he can play kind of all the positions. Imagine a horrible situation where St. Brown goes down. I think Tesla can if he can beat out Khalif, can slide into that slot role. I think he can push a Tim Patrick for the Y role or the Z role. I think that JMO is JMO. He's got a skill set nobody else has. Tesla's not pushing JMO for snaps. But I think what he does is he gives you that flexibility if a Tim Patrick goes down or if St. Brown gets injured and we need to slide him in the slot. The other three guys, I think, will probably make the roster with spot duty. The Boise State edge rusher, Hassanian, is I think how you pronounce it. Looks like he's got some raw skill. He may grow into a good pass rusher. Dan Jackson's a safety that I think they probably have special teams lined up for him, as well as the little receiver, Dominic Lovett. So I like additions and subtractions if you weigh them. If you really care about the coordinators, I get it. I just don't agree with you. If you are really upset about Carlton Davis, I get it. But I think DJ Reed should calm your nerves. I think if you're worried or upset about Frank, we're on the same page. I agree. That's the thing that jumps out to me. I think the draft was solid. They brought in depth guys. They brought in guys that can play right now. But I do believe that as you look at it on paper, this team is every bit as good as last year's team. I would say better if not for Frank, but not the coordinators. I think this is still a really good football team. 15-2 is hard to do. I didn't expect it last year. I don't expect it this year. I am probably much along lines with my brother. 13-4 feels right. The schedule, you look at it, but I think that's where they can be. So that's how I feel about the additions and the subtractions so far. Let's talk about what they could be. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to live in this world where they don't get a historic number of injuries, right? It won't be 15-2. I will say to you that I think a 13-4 team could be better than the 15-2 team. How does that make sense? The schedule's tougher, right? But I think about some of the things I just talked about. What if Hutch is 100% and there's no reason to believe he's not? That's 12 games you didn't have one of the 3 or 4 best pass rushers in all of football. What if you get 10, 12 games out of Marcus Davenport? And I know some people are laughing, right? What if you do? I truly believe they're going to re-sign Zadarius Smith. I don't know why it's taking so long. I don't really care. They're reporting in a few days. They play their first game 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from tomorrow. He can sign tomorrow. He can sign the morning of the Hall of Fame game. He can sign 2 nights before the opener. Don't care. Still believes Zadarius is coming back. But what if you just get healthy? Like just the health standpoint. You're going to get Hutch back. Every account says he's ready to rock 100%. Anything out of Davenport counts. If you get a healthy Rakestraw, think about your linebacker room. Think about the linebacker room, just from a health standpoint. Barnes missed 14 games. And I don't care what you say, Derek Barnes was coming into his own. I think Rodrigo missed 7, maybe. And I know Anzalone missed 7. That's 28 games from starting caliber linebackers. That's a big deal. We talk a lot about upfront and Hutch and Aleem, which we should, because Aleem is another one. When Aleem comes back, but you missed 28 man games from your linebacker room. Anzalone, think whatever you want. Anzalone's a good football player. Derek Barnes was starting to play his best ball. That's why they extended him. I like what a healthy Detroit Lions defense looks like, right? I think continuity is important for why they could be better. I think even though the coordinators appear to be new, Kelvin Shepard's not new, and I think John Morton has been here. He knows what we're about, right? But here's my number one thing where I talk about what they could be and why I really like it. Like a lot of what I just said, giving me a healthy linebacker room, give me anything from Davenport, a healthy Hutch, give me Rakestraw, give me Aleem. But the term is organic growth, right? Do we think, I know Kenny doesn't think it, but do we think Terrion Arnold isn't going to be better in his second year than his first? Actually, Kenny probably thinks he's going to be better. Plus, by the way, he also reminded me of Jack Campbell, right? The linebacker room, when healthy, pretty damn good. But what Kenny, what if Terrion Arnold's better than last year? And I think he was good and you don't. But what if he's better? Just through organic growth. That's a big deal. What if Jack Campbell gets better? And there's no reason he can't. What if Brian Branch is better? Right? What if Sam Laporte is better? Because he was fighting injury all last year. If you think about it that way, Ennis Rakestraw will be better just by being healthy. What if Mahogany actually is ready to start at guard? We don't have to. Now we're paying a guy on a rookie deal who's starting at guard and giving us quality minutes. What if, God forbid, knocking on my wood desk, what if Broderick Martin finally, what if Broderick Martin is what they thought he was going to be? What if Anzarike continues to get better? So organic growth is just guys in the program getting better. And I think Rakestraw is a great option. I think that Jack Campbell should get better. Hell, what if Jahmyr Gibbs gets better? What if they use him a little bit differently and he catches more passes? So I think they're going to be a better team. It's hard, though, because of all the injuries. But I think they're a better team, even if they only win 13 games. And I don't know if that makes sense. I think the Vikings take a step back. I think Sam Darnold played out of his mind. And I don't know that their rookie second-year guy coming off a major knee injury can do that. They lost some people on the defensive side of the ball. I think the Bears might take a step up. I don't think they're ready to challenge us. And I don't think it's because of Ben Johnson. I think it's a lot of things. They revamped their offensive line, which is huge. It's a big deal. So I think that if we get organically better, because we're a young team, they're a young team. What if they keep getting better? And I can't imagine that the Lions can suffer the number of injuries again. Statistically, is just improbable. So what do I think they could be? I think they could be 13-4, win the North, 1 seed again, playing in February in Santa Clara, California. That's what I think. So how do I think it's going to happen? What do I think it's going to look like? So let's break down how this thing might play out, because there's some real things we have to address. And then I'm going to take a few questions. So I think they're still the best team in the division. There's nothing compelling that anyone else in the division did or that we dropped off, with the exception of Frank, that makes them better. I think Minnesota takes a significant step back. I think they were a fraudulent 14-3 last year. Two of those losses were to us, but I think they were frauds then. I think they were a 11-6 team last year that got lucky in a couple of games. And I think they're going to be around 9 or 10 wins. But the schedule looks tougher because it is, but the schedule looks tougher largely because of the road games, right? And then I think to myself, wait a minute, but they went 8-0. They went 8-0 last year. So Terrence, I don't care who the backup quarterback is because 16 don't miss games. No, I'm sorry. It's probably going to be Kyle Allen, and I think that might be a reflection of Hendon Hooker maybe isn't progressing. I'm sorry. In the comments, my brother from another is saying backup quarterback. I don't have concerns about that. 16 don't miss games. No, if 16 gets hurt, none of this might matter. But I think that Kyle Allen is a capable backup. I think this is make or break for Hendon Hooker. What he does if he gets a chance. In my perfect world, Hendon Hooker never sees the field except in mop-up duty, which is fine because the best quarterback on the roster wears 16, and we get to the Super Bowl with a healthy 16. So I think that the schedule looks a lot tougher because it is, but I think the road games are what scares people, right? They got to go to Green Bay, of course. They go to Baltimore, they go to Cincinnati, they go to Kansas City, and that's just in the first 6 weeks. So we could lose as many games in the first 6 weeks as we did all of last year. I wouldn't care because they could lose 2 of those games. I don't suspect they will because I thought about it, and they went 8-0 last year on the road, right? You think about it, I'm sorry, but they went to Minnesota, a 14-3 team and won. They beat Green Bay on the road. They went to Houston, a good football team and won. So the idea that is my friend Brian's in. I love it. I'm with you. My friend Brian, the Cincinnati Bengal fan, just popped in. Good to see you. He's predicting Lions Bengals Super Bowl. I'm not sure if he's wrong. So this year, just in the first 6 weeks, you got Green Bay, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City. They could, in some world, lose 2 of those games. More games they lost all last year in the regular season. Theory, they could lose 3. I don't see it. But they also go to Philly and to LA to play the Rams. Is the Washington game a road game or home? Somebody verify that. Kenny says they go to Washington. My memory says that game's in Detroit. No, I think you might be right. So they have tough road games they've got to go take care of. But that doesn't bother me, right? Because unless they get another historic level of defensive injuries, which I don't see why they will, I think they're competitive in all those games and they win a bunch of them. Okay, so that, again, road at Washington. So Philly, Rams, Washington, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Green Bay, of course. That's 7, by every account, difficult road games. Somebody asked me, Chuck, what's up? The shirt, ordered it on DetroitLions.com. It's one of my favorites. I think Kenny tried to steal it. But yeah, this is one of my favorite Lions shirts. I like to be interactive. Anybody who's new to the podcast, my brother, my good friend, my cousin, people chime in, support me. I love them for it. I thank them for it. But if they say something smart or funny or interesting, I want the podcast to be interactive. I was supposed to have a couple of guests tonight, but they bailed on me. So it's just me. And I'm pretty excited. They're showing up in a couple of days for camp because they got the Hall of Fame game 2 weeks from tomorrow, and it's football season time again. So if they don't get a historic level of defensive injuries, I think they're competitive in all those games. I don't care where they're played. With this team, I'm not someone who buys the home road. They won all 8 of their road games last year, and they played in some tough places. I mean, Dallas was supposed to be tough. Turned out it wasn't. Winning 15 games last year wasn't a product of the schedule because they were playing a first-place schedule last year. Remember, they won the division the year before as well. So it wasn't luck, and this is who they are. Where the game is played doesn't matter. Who they're playing doesn't matter. They come in. And my feeling is they're still that team. You know, I did that thing last year on the podcast where I titled one of the podcasts, "The Lions Are Them," right? And I talked about how it used to be the schedule would come out and other teams' players would be in camp. And they were like, we get to play them. When they saw the Lions, we get to play them. And the last couple years has been, oh shit, we got to play them. So it's the same word, but it is a completely different connotation. Oh no, we have to play them. They're still them. They're still them because, and I'm not using the health thing as an excuse. I did that podcast that night after, I think I did it the next day after the Washington game. And I said, I get it. I get what happened. But if we're being honest and you give me Hutch for that game, a healthy Hutch, give me a healthy Aleem, give me a healthy Carlton Davis, just 3 players. And Amik doesn't break his arm on the second play. So you give me those 4 players for that game. I'm not sure Jaden Daniels has that game. I'm not sure the Commanders have that game. And that is acknowledging that my quarterback didn't play well. But we were missing 4 really good defense players, a top 3 pass rusher, a Pro Bowl level defensive tackle, and our 2 best corners, for the bulk of that game. I didn't even mention Barnes or other guys that were hurt. If I could just have those guys. Now, that doesn't matter. The Commanders played better and won the game. So there is no, people think they got lucky. They didn't get lucky. They were the best team on paper in football, right? That's a tough game. Ask everybody who played them last year, right? But I think this is the year they're ready. I called this podcast, they're destined, because I think they were forged. I think San Francisco still stings. I know it still stings me because I remember how I felt at halftime a year and a half ago. That still stings. I know the Washington game. I think the Buffalo game stung. I think Houston stung even though they won it. They didn't play well, right? So you can mark this one in the archives. I think they're ready. I think they're prepared. I think this is it. I'm with my man Fisher on this one. I think it's Lions Bengals. I like it. So you can mark this one in the archives because I am absolutely that dude that will come back and say, I told you. If the Lions and Bengals are in the Super Bowl, I'm going to have to race Brian to a microphone because we're both going to be like, see, we told you. We told you back in July. So to the question of what will they be? Again, Kenny pegged it early. And throw in your predictions if you want. 13-4, the 1 seed again. And I think they're playing in Santa Clara in February against Brian's Bengals. And that's just where I am. I think I'll let God handle that game because I want me and Brian to stay friends. I'll let God handle that game. But I think they'll be there. I think this is it. You have to go through this process. And San Francisco hurt. And the Washington game hurt. But I think it's going to make Dan Campbell stronger, and I think it's going to make the Lions stronger. So there's other predictions of Lions. Buffalo. Kenny doesn't know Brian. He has no loyalty to Brian. I get it. So, all right, I'm going to jump into a few questions, and then let's see what we got. Let's see, what do we got? Do you think all the primetime games will hurt them? So they got a lot of primetime games. I think somebody told me they had 9 or 10. I mean, some ridiculous number of primetime games. I assume your question is relative to the changing of the schedule and the disruption of the normal routine. My answer is still no, right? I've mentioned a number of times, and I consistently talk about the word culture, right? There was actually a lot of talk today at my work about culture, the culture of the organization. I don't just mean the players on the field either. And it's not popular to say good things about owners. I get that. And certainly not if their last name is Ford. But I have bucked that trend all along, and I don't care because I believe the key to all of this, and I've done this podcast before, it's still Sheila Ford Hamp, guys. I'm sorry. I believe in organizational culture. I think in what I do for a living, it is critical. I think in this is critical. But I think she's the key to all this. I'm going to pause for a minute. Kenny, question, what are we waiting on? I think the edge rusher you want is called Zadarius Smith. He'll be back. They'll sign him. He'll be in camp. He'll be there for preseason. Zadarius Smith is the edge rusher you want. And that's fine. We don't need to do anything more than that. I think Pascal's good. I think you expect to get something from Davenport. I think you like the kid you drafted at tackle to help impact your edge rush. So that's my thoughts on signing another edge rusher. They're going to, and his name is Zadarius Smith. Back to organizational culture. I think it all cascades down. When you have good leadership at the top and a good culture that's driven at the top, everything else cascades down. So to me, We talk about, oh, this is a gritty football team and grit and gritty is everywhere. And a lot of people are tired of hearing it. I'm not. I like it. I think the shirts are cool. I think the concept is cool. But I don't think it's just a gritty set of players. I think the Detroit Lions are a gritty organization. And I don't really care what her name is. I think Sheila's gritty, right? If you've seen her talk, go back and look at the Zoom call a couple of days after Thanksgiving in 2020 when she fired, the hell with their names, Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. Go watch that Zoom call. She was gritty. When they booed her at Calvin Johnson's retirement thing, she took that shit on the chin. That's gritty. She's like, all right, it's cool. Y'all want to boo me? It's cool. When they were like 1-6 or 0-6 and something like that in the second season before everything turned around, she came out. She did a press conference. That's gritty. She said, we're doing the right things. We know what we're doing. We're doing the right things. I think she's gritty. We know Brad Holmes is gritty, right? Chris Spielman's middle name is Gritty, if I'm not mistaken. I think the janitors in Allen Park are gritty, right? I know the support staff, they're gritty. So the upside to all these games is obvious, right? Clearly, the Lions deliver TV ratings. That is obvious. That's why we keep getting all these games, right? They're putting eyeballs on the product. People watch the Lions. A very good Detroit Lions team draws money. It's good for business. They love it. They love it. You look at the highest rated games last year, I think a bunch of the top 5 were the Lions. 3 or 4 of the top 5 at the Detroit. We draw money. That's what it's about. To your question of, do I think it'll be disruptive? No. Part of planning and sort of organization is a set of people in Allen Park, and it's their job to make sure logistics and hotels and all that stuff is not just taken care of, but it is done exceptionally well to minimize inconvenience. You don't want to make it a problem for the players, right? So there's people whose jobs it is to do that. And that's what they do. Sorry. Sometimes my brother just gets me. He knows I'm trying to do a podcast and he does that. I'm going to let that one go. I think these people know what they're doing. They figure out the best way to make sure the team gets where they're going and timing, and the coaches know how to schedule practices around these games. This is not their first rodeo. They know what they're doing. But this is not subjective either, right? That's not my opinion. Facts are facts. I read it. Their record in regular season primetime games under Dan Campbell is 11-2. They were 6-0 last year in primetime games. They're just built for this. This is what they do. So it's not a problem. Primetime games, we love them. We love them, especially when they're at home. But they got primetime games this year, and they'll be ready, and they'll come out and they'll do what they do. So my short answer is I don't see this as a problem. I don't think it's a problem. So next question. How can you believe that Jared Goff will be as good without Ben Johnson? I probably should have known that one was coming. Probably when I did that whole Ben Johnson ain't a genius at the beginning, I should have known. Okay, so how do we want to do this? So you got to know me. And if you look over my right shoulder, I'm not trying to hide it, right? I have multiple jerseys. There's only one hanging, right? I'm not trying to hide it. I love Jared Goff. I'm talking about the quarterback. He's a good dude. Watch the series Quarterback. If you watch the Quarterback series on Netflix and you don't come away thinking, whether you're a Lions fan or not, because by the way, I love Kirk Cousins. If you watch Quarterback and you don't love Kirk Cousins, you're not a human being. But it's cool. I believe Jared Goff is just one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league. I think fans in general get caught up in athleticism. Patrick Mahomes throwing passes with his left hand, or Lamar Jackson scrambling for 30 yards, and Josh Allen doing, and I grant you that all those guys are better than Jared Goff. I think there is a thing though about how we judge quarterbacks. For me, it begins and ends with his arm, and he's not Matt Stafford, but nobody's Matt Stafford. But I think Jared Goff can make every throw in the playbook. I've seen him drop dimes to JMO 60 yards downfield. So I don't question his arm. What I do believe is When you take away all the, ooh, I like the way he runs and I love his footwork and his escape, take all that bullshit and set it aside. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league. And when I watch his play, and I will say to you, I have seen every play of every game that Jared Goff has played as a Detroit Lion, right? I will say to you, pre-snap, he's as good as there is in the league. Coming out of the huddle, identifying the defensive alignment, immediately looking, where's the linebacker, where's the safety? Will the play I call work, or do I need to tap my helmet and say kill, kill, kill so we can go to the second play? Now, yeah, Ben Johnson drew those plays up. Ben Johnson told him, here are the 2 or 3 plays, or here's the play I want you to run. But if Jared Goff comes out of the huddle, sees an alignment, says to himself, Ben's play isn't going to work, he says kill, 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 go to the play I told you in the huddle. Because they always call these 2 plays in the huddle, sometimes 3. That is a skill. It is largely between your ears, but it is vision and it is confidence. And Jared Goff has it as much as any other quarterback in the league. You take away all that other crap that everybody else but me cares about, whether he can run and all, I don't care. It is, do I run this play or do I check out of this play? That's smart. How do I manipulate the safety with my eyes? How do I look left or look right? How do I do something that manipulates their players to do something I need them to do? Now, can Ben design that in the play? Sure. Go look up Stumble Bum. Yeah. Stumble Bum, they tricked the Bears linebacker. It worked perfectly. But when he comes out of the huddle and he looks at the alignment, he makes instantly a decision. The play we called is not going to work. We need to go to the other play. That's Jared Goff. That's film study. That is experience. That is confidence. And I know what I'm doing, right? Manipulating the defenders with his eyes, knowing where to go with the ball. And you can talk about, it's all the other players, right? I'm not going to, okay, forget my subjective opinion. The numbers are what they are. Last year, he threw for 4,600 yards, second in the league. I think that matters. 37 touchdowns, third or fourth? I'm going to say fourth in the league. I'm remembering stuff I read. Sorry. So if you look it up and I'm off, apologies. I know he had a career high in completion percentage and it was 72 and some change. I know that he had the best yards per attempt in the league and he was top 5 in red zone touchdowns. That's data. That's not me and the jersey hanging over my shoulder. That's data. But if you don't like Jared Goff, cool. If you love Ben Johnson, cool. I get it. Oh, by the way, he was blitzed more than any other quarterback in the league. That's a fact. That's just data. So your question was, how can I believe Goff can be good? Because he is good. He was good with Ben Johnson. He was good with Sean McVay. He will be good with John Morton. Will he be great? Maybe. Does he need to be great? Not if we have a healthy defense. Let's be honest, guys. Jared Goff played 4 bad football games last year. Out of 18 games, he played 4. He didn't even play that poorly against Buffalo, actually. He had a couple of plays. Jared Goff's not our problem, guys. This is not. So these questions of, oh, Ben Johnson's gone, so Jared Goff's going to be a bum. No. And you can give me all the excuses. He has talent. Yep. St. Brown is good. Laporte is good. Jamo's good. Sure. It's a system. Okay, you can believe that. Somebody's got to execute the system. They were one of the highest YAC teams. So what you're telling me is he throws a bunch of short passes and they get yards after the catch. My answer to that is, okay. Okay. Let's just keep doing that. If you can do that and win 15 football games, okay, I'm absolutely fine. But if you think he's a product of Ben Johnson's system, let's circle back week 11 and see what Caleb's doing. And Goff. Let's see if Caleb is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, and all of a sudden Goff fell off and he's 15 or 18. Because right now, I think there's a group up top, and we know who they are. They are Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and I might be, maybe I'm forgetting somebody, maybe not. I think that's the group. And then there's a second group. And that second group has Matthew Stafford still, has Justin Herbert, maybe has Jaden Daniels now. But damn if Jared Goff ain't in that group, near the top of that group. He's top 10. He might be top 7. And I'm kind of tired of having that argument. His numbers tell you what he is and what he's been for 3.5 years. And I still get questions like this. If you think he's a system guy, we'll find out. I'm not even going to get mad. I might have got mad a little bit, but I'll let that go. I get tired of people bashing the quarterback though. When the numbers say what they say, you can blame him for Washington if you want. He will tell you he played poorly. We all know he played poorly, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't think he's a system. And even if he is a system is great when you have somebody who can execute it, right? Um, yeah. Sorry. I'm giving Kenny too much good ammunition, right? He knows yards after the catch is yak. And then he drops a really nice joke about that cognac, which is okay. I'm fine with that. Last question. One more. Let me get out of here before Kenny messes. Kenny's messing me up. What are we doing? How do you see them matching up with the Eagles? How do I not see them matching up with the Eagles won the Lombardi. I get it. It's easy to do. The Eagles didn't beat the Lions, right? And you can do the ipso facto, they lost to the Commanders. So we don't know that the Eagles would have beaten a healthy Detroit team in Detroit. I still think the Lions are every bit as good as the Eagles. And I don't think that's any disrespect to the Eagles because they won a trophy, right? I don't think you can talk about the 2024 Lions and not talk about injuries. If you do, you're just being disingenuous. And I can't respect that opinion. The reality is that team's eventual demise was absolutely affected by injuries. And if you deny that, you're just a liar or a hater or a fool. I don't know. My answer, though, my straight answer is simply this. On paper, healthy. I think they're both good teams. I think the Commanders are a good team. I think the Rams are a good team. There's good teams, right, to play. I don't see any reason why the Lions, then they play each other week 11, I'm going to say. So I think both teams are in the top 5 in every power ranking you see. And I think they're universally accepted as the top 2 teams in the NFC. So by that definition alone, you're saying there's not a huge gap. There's not a huge gap. They're both good teams. And had they played last year, that game would have been in Detroit. Healthy Lions team in Detroit, I like them against anybody. I said that during the bye week when they were the 1 seed. They play each other in Philly week 11. We'll find out. We'll know who both teams are, what they're about, who's who. It's going to be a primetime game. I think it's Sunday night. We'll find out who the Lions are, who the Eagles are. We'll know by then. My much shorter answer is this. I think they're the 2 best teams in the NFC. All due respect to the Rams, who are probably going to be good. I think they're the 2 best teams in the NFC. And I think short of some catastrophic injuries or something unforeseen, if 16 goes down or something like that, I like the Lions' chances against anybody, NFC or AFC. I think if Hutch is healthy, Aleem comes back, that team, and they, in my opinion, got better. Tyreek Williams makes them better. Those 2 interior offensive linemen don't make up for the loss of Frank, but I think you do things a little differently. But I know that my linebacker room is not going to miss 28 games between Barnes, Rodrigo, and Anzalone. I'm going to get 28 man games back. Hey, Andy, good to see you. We get 28 man games back. I think organic growth of Terry and Arnold. I think Jack Campbell can even get better. I think that Meek and DJ Reed and Kenny's boy, a healthy Rakestraw. I think this team is actually better. The Frank thing is hard for me to say it for sure because just the impact of Frank is going to hurt. But I still think this is a 13-4 football team. So specifically the Eagles, my guess is that question is largely because the Eagles have the trophy. That's fine. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me one bit. I think a healthy Detroit Lions team can play with anybody, anywhere. I don't care where the game is. And I think week 11 in Philadelphia will tip us off. And the Rams could be in the conversation for best team. Maybe somebody in the South. Maybe Michael Penix is everything we think he is, and the Falcons are better than I think. But I think it's maybe the Commanders get better. Maybe Jaden Daniels gets better. I predict the sophomore slump, but maybe. But I don't. Your question simply says, how do I see them matching up with the Eagles? Very well. A healthy Detroit Lions team, I see them matching up very well. Because if Tyreek is what we think he is, and Aleem is healthy and DJ Reader stays healthy, forget about if we get anything from a Davenport, that defensive front, and you give me a healthy linebacker room, I don't miss 28 man games from Anzalone, Barnes, and Rodrigo. I like this team because I like that defense. And we got the best safety tandem in the league. How do we get 50 minutes into the podcast? And I think I barely mentioned Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. I think if the defense, if they stay reasonably healthy as most teams stay in a normal season, meaning we don't lose 16 for a bunch of games, and the guys that go are maybe replaceable, or we don't lose 12 guys on defense, right? Yeah, Andy, I'm sorry. We mentioned Zadarius earlier. I do think Zadarius will be there. I love what the defensive front will be inside and out. When the front is healthy and Aleem is there with Reader and Tyleek Williams, I still like Wingo. I like the guy Lopez they signed. And on the edge, I still think you got one of the best 2 or 3 in the league. I still think Zadarius will be on this team when they kick off against the Packers. I still like Joshua Pascal. God forbid we get anything from Levi and Broderick or Davenport. Health is still the concern for me. So, like, you're asking me to assess on paper everybody healthy. I like our chances against anybody. And I don't even think that's an outrageous statement. I don't know who's going to get injured. I don't know how long they're going to be out. I don't know any of that stuff. But just as easily, if Saquon went down, the Eagles are a different team. See, whoever their version of Hutch is on their side, if that dude misses 12 games, that Eagles team is different. And everybody will make excuses. But I will tell you this. They've been healthy. And I really only wanted 3 guys. If you would have given me a healthy Hutch, a healthy Aleem, and a healthy Carlton Davis, I think we win the Commanders game, and I think the Eagles come in and we beat them too. That's how good I think that team is on paper. They've learned their lesson. They've been forged. They're hardened. They're ready. They're destined. It's time. It's time. We've been through every machination of this. We did 50 years of, okay, right? Now we've done 2 years of, are we? Yeah, I think we are. Oh, damn. Oh, damn. Up 17 at halftime. Looking at the Super Bowl. Me and Kenny thinking about tickets to Vegas. And then we did last year, 15-2, 1 seed. We'll take a week off and then pick the worst day to play the worst game. We've learned all the lessons. We've experienced all the things we need to experience. It's time to go win the damn thing, right? So that's my feelings. That's my thoughts on it. I appreciate everybody who joined us. We've kicked off season 7. We're back at it. I'm going to be back next week to talk about camp. Right? It's open. Anything new? By then, I'm hoping Z will be in camp, or we'll have some word. And there's other guys. The Von Miller rumors out there. I don't know that I care. Von Miller probably has something left in the tank. They're gonna put another dude on the opposite side. And I think they believe Davenport's healthy. I think they believe Josh Pascal had a good season. I think they feel good about who they have. So even if they didn't, but I do truly believe Z will be back. So Z will be back. We are back. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We will start to kick it off every week now. So you're going to start seeing me again. Any thoughts, comments, feel free. Put them on Facebook. Put them on Twitter. Something's going on with Twitter. I don't know why it's not streaming over there, but we'll take care of that. Appreciate everybody. And we'll see you again soon. All right. Take care.